Hello friends. So today's question, can you take input tax credit on motor vehicles? So any GST paid on the purchase of motor vehicles, can you take input tax credit? Whether that credit can be used for the purpose of business is the question today. So let us go in detail. Section 17(5) of the CGST Act, which is for the various, this is a block credit for various credits which this section blocks, and motor vehicle is one of them. So let us understand which motor vehicle you can take the credit, which motor vehicles you cannot take the credit. So let us split for the understanding, let us split the motor vehicles into two parts. One is motor vehicle which is used for transportation of goods. One is a motor vehicle which is used for transportation of passengers. Motor vehicles which is used for transportation of goods, 100% input tax credit can be claimed. There is no blockage of credit there. From 1st February 2019, there were an amendment. So whatever I am going to say is post 1st February 2019. Before 1st February 2019, the act was something else which got amended with regards to motor vehicle. So transportation of goods, motor vehicles, 100% input tax credit is allowed. Now we'll go to the second part of motor vehicle. This is the transportation of passengers. Now you buy a car, whether the GST paid on such car, is it allowed? So what section 17(5) says is, if the approved capacity of the motor vehicle is more than 13, then you can take the credit. So whatever motor vehicle you are getting and the sitting capacity is more than 13, including the driver, you can take the credit. So all the vehicles, irrespective of what vehicle you are getting, if it is 13-seater plus, you can take the credit. Now what happens if it is less than 13-seater? Most of the cars and the vehicles what we get for our own use, it is always less than 13-seater. The credit in such case is not allowed. So any motor vehicle, if it is less than 13-seater, approved 13-seater and less, no input tax credit is allowed. There are few exceptions. If such motor vehicles is used, if I bring it for further supply, that is, I buy a motor vehicle for further supply. Further supply means if I am a dealer, a showroom, a dealer in my motor vehicle, I buy the motor vehicle for the purpose of selling. In such cases, you can take the credit. Second is, it is used for transportation of passengers. That is, I am in the business of transportation of passengers. So it is whether it is a taxi. If I buy the car for the purpose of taxi or transportation of passengers as a business, then I can take the credit. And third, if such motor vehicle I am using for imparting training. So in these three situations, input tax credit on motor vehicle will be allowed. So what are the three situations? I should be using that motor vehicle for the further supply. Second, it should be for the transportation of passengers. And third, that motor vehicle should be used to impart training. So if in these three situations, the input tax credit is available, otherwise it is not available. Now many a times a question arises. Now I buy a passenger car. Suppose for example I buy a Omni and I use it for goods. Can the input tax credit be used? The answer is straight away no. If the registration of the motor vehicle is a passenger vehicle, then you have to see whether it is 13 plus seater. If it is less than 13 plus seater, then you have to see whether the three conditions, whether it is used for the purpose of that three outward supply. If it is more than 13 seater, it is completely allowed. If a goods vehicle is registered as a goods vehicle, then input tax credit is available. So bear in mind, goods vehicle 100% allowed, passenger vehicle split into two, more than 13 seater, less than 13 seater, more than 13 seater allowed, less than 13 seater, one of the three businesses you should use. Now what happens if the general insurance, there are so many expenses which you spend for your motor vehicle, like your general insurance, servicing, repairs, so all these expenses which you use for this expense, can the input tax credit paid for such expenses, well, that be allowed. The question is, if your motor vehicle input is allowed, then the expenses related to that also is allowed. So any insurance paid for a motor vehicle which is blocked as per section 17(5), then all its expenses also is blocked. Expenses in the sense insurance, repairs and maintenance, servicing, such kind of expenses is blocked. If it is a more than 13 seater vehicle, suppose the motor vehicle is allowed more than 13 seater or less than 13 seater used for the outward supply of 3 categories, then even the related expenditure of insurance, servicing and repairs and maintenance also will be allowed. So please bear in mind, while taking the credit, please ensure the credit is available and then only take the credit. Thank you so much.